we are making a video about what if Tony Stewart never joined forces with Gene Haas to create Stewart-Haas Racing. Now, this is going to be a long one because it covers about 11 years, and let's just jump right into it. But first, I want to say thank you for this suggestion from ManDude03 videos. He was the one who suggested this to me in the comments below. So if you guys want to leave a suggestion, go right ahead. I may or may not use it. And also, while we're on the topic of comments, I do not plan on becoming a Chase Elliott fan anytime soon. But yeah. So, all right, enough with the silliness. Let's just jump right into it. So, in 2009, Gene Haas had a car. He had a car in the field. The number was changed very frequently, but it wasn't exactly the best car. It was probably like a 25th to 30 place car. So, yeah, he had this from like 2003 up until like 2008, and then he joined forces with Stewart-Haas. But in this reality, he keeps fielding his Haas car, and it's just the one car, and he has Scott Riggs in the car. Because he had Scott Riggs in 2008, there's no reason to think he wouldn't keep him in 2009. And next we look at Joe Gibbs Racing. Nothing really changes here. Tony Stewart's still in the 20 car. And then at Penske, Ryan Newman's still in the 12 car. He doesn't go to SHR. And that leaves David Stremme not in the 12 car. So where does he end up? He ends up in the 98 car, splitting the ride with Paul Menard for 2009. And in the Xfinity Series or Nationwide, whatever you want to call it, because it was Nationwide at the time, but now it's Xfinity. JGR's got Logano, and Junior Motorsports has got Keselowski in the Xfinity Series. Now let's move on to 2010. Again, Haas has the 66 car, but this time they put David Stremme in because he really has nowhere else to go. And Scott Riggs is just, he's just not very good. So they boot him out of the ride, put David Stremme in. Joe Gibbs Racing doesn't change at all. Penske doesn't change at all. Yates/RPM, they just field Paul Menard in full-time. And in the Xfinity Series or Nationwide, it's still Logano and Keselowski at Junior Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing. So 2011, now here's where some big changes come in. Brian Vickers goes to Haas because he was booted out of his ride following 2010. And rather than just go to Xfinity, he just went to Haas. JGR, Joey Logano moves up to the Cup Series, and Joe Gibbs Racing creates a fourth team 4 years before they actually create their fourth team in real life. But it's safe to say they would have had an option to do this because they had a lot of sponsorship back then. Obviously, at Home Depot basically being the full-time for the 20 car, Denny Hamlin having FedEx for like all 36 races, and Kyle Busch having a lot of funding with Interstate and M&M's and all those. So it would have been easy to find Joey Logano some sponsors. At Penske, Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, they're still here. Sam Hornish Jr. departs, though. And they do their weird number switch, but I don't really understand why they did that. But I just kept it in this because they probably would do that anyway. And then Yates closes, so Paul Menard goes to the 27 car. And in the Xfinity Series, we still have Brad Keselowski. Now in 2012, Brian Vickers still at Haas. JGR looks the same, but Hendrick is going to get a little mixed up here. Mark Martin obviously lives the 5. Brad Keselowski is in the 5 now. So, yeah, that's where he lands. They just bring him up from Xfinity. At Penske, Mark Martin moves over to the 2 car because obviously Kurt Busch leaves the 2, or he leaves the 22 following 2011. Now, this might not actually happen, but I'm having it happen in this reality because Newman's been at the team for 10 years already. So I think by then the team will just part ways eventually. And so he would go to a different team. Obviously, in the 22, we still have AJ Allmendinger start the season and Sam Hornish Jr. finish the season because, all that happened. So where does Ryan Newman end up? First we'll do Kurt Busch. He goes to Phoenix Racing, obviously, just like in real life. MWR picks up Ryan Newman. So he winds up going to the 55 car because Brian Vickers is in the Haas car. So, yeah. And then where does Kasey Kahne go? If he doesn't go to the 5 car, he goes to the 6 car. Roush just keeps the 6 car open in 2012. They don't close it. So, yeah. Kasey Kahne ends up in the 6. And then RCR basically stays the same. In 2013, Brian Vickers still in Haas. Joe Gibbs Racing basically the same, although David Reagan does do the fill-in thing at the end of the year for Stewart when he's injured. Hendricks the same. Mark Martin still in the 2 car. And Matt Kenseth ends up going to the 22, which is very ironic. But he goes to the 22 because he wanted to leave Roush at the end of the year, and obviously the 20 was not open, so he goes to the 22 because that was a ride that was open. MWR basically the same. Furniture Row, Kurt Busch goes over there. Roush, all they do is downsize from the 17 car. They don't put Stenhouse in the 17 in 2013. They give him one more year of development. And RCR, they still got their same drivers. 2014, it's a pretty big year. So following 2013, Kasey Kahne is going to get booted by Ricky Stenhouse in the 6 car. So where does he go? He goes to Haas. Where does Brian Vickers go? He probably just does some Xfinity races every now and then, just like he actually did in like 2011, 2012. So I guess in real life, Brian Vickers, his career actually works out better for him than in this reality, but that's just what happens. So Kasey Kahne in the Haas car. Joe Gibbs Racing basically stays the same. But Tony Stewart will get bopped at the end of the year just because of his dip in performance like the past couple years and his whole off-the-track situation with, the dirt incident. Hendricks stays the same. RCR basically stays the same except Kurt Busch goes to the 31 because if you remember, Kevin Harvick leaves. And since Ryan Newman's in the 55 in this reality, Kurt Busch ends up going to the 31. So where does that leave Kevin Harvick? That puts him in the 2 car at Penske. It's just a natural fit for him, honestly, because that's probably the best ride that was open at the time. And so he goes to the 2 car. He probably has the same amount of success that he had in real life in the season because the 2 car, who was driven by Brad Keselowski in real life, it had a really good season in 2014. So there's no real reason to think Harvick can't do the same thing in the same equipment. Kenseth still in the 22. MWR does downsize because remember Truex gets bopped at the end of 2013, so they have Bowyer and Newman now. Furniture Row, Mark Truex Jr. ends up going to. And Roush, Ricky Stenhouse goes to the 6 car. And So now in 2015, Kasey Kahne still at Haas. Joe Gibbs Racing, basically the same except, like I said, Stewart gets removed from the 20 car. So Carl Edwards ends up going to the 20. So he doesn't go to the 19, but he goes to the 20 instead. So Penske. So Tony Stewart ends up going to the 12 car because Penske, obviously, they had a lot of cars and a lot of sponsorships available. So they just bring their 3rd car back out from the shelf because they put it away for a couple years, but now it's back out. Tony Stewart's driving it, and he's probably not going to find much success because in 2015 he was just not good at all. Kevin Harvick's still probably going to have a really good season. Matt Kenseth's going to have a great season, which reminds me, Joey Logano probably has a stellar season also. I'm not sure if Kenseth and Logano still get into a rivalry, but I don't know. Here at Hendrick, everything stays the same. MWR, Clint, Bowyer, Ryan Newman, but MWR closes at the end of the year, so both of these guys have to find rides Furniture still Truex, Roush basically stays the same, except Trevor Bayne fills Carl Edwards' spot in the 99 car. RCR stays the exact same. Wood Brothers now is driven by Ryan Blaney, which actually happened in real life. And in 2016 now, MWR closes, so Ryan Newman goes to Haas. And yeah, so Clint Bowyer goes to H. Scott like he does in real life with the teammate of Mike Lynette. Joe Gibbs Racing, basically the same. Hendrick, basically the same, except they put Chase Elliott in the 24 car, unfortunately. And Bowman and Gordon still do the fill-in thing at the end of the year for Junior. Penske, the same. Furniture Row, the same. Roush, the same. There wasn't a huge amount of changes this season. Yeah. So in 2017 now, Ryan Newman still at Haas. And Casey Kane ends up going to the 20 car because last season he didn't have a ride. But, you know, Carl Edwards retiring at the last second in 2016, that put JGR in a box, and they went with an experienced veteran who didn't have a ride instead of Daniel Suarez. So that kind of messes Suarez up in the long term. Or honestly, it makes it better for him. It could go either way, honestly, because if he has more time to develop in the Xfinity Series, he could be better in the Cup Series when he eventually gets moved up. So that could go either way for him. At HMS, we still got the same thing. Keselowski in the 5, Chase Elliott in the 24, and Johnson and Jr. Penske stays the same, except Clint Bowyer goes to the 12 because Tony Stewart retired at the end of 2016, like in real life. So Clint Bowyer goes to the 12 because he didn't have a ride at the end of the year. Or wait, no. He did, but he didn't want to race for H. Scott again. Furniture Row, same thing happens in real life for them. Roush downsizes, and they got the same drivers as they do in real life, but it's not the 17 and the 6. It's the 6 and the 99. RCR stays the exact same. Wood Brothers. Yeah, all right. 2018 now. Ryan Newman still at Haas. He really likes it there. JGR. Joey Logano ends up getting bumped for Erik Jones. So Joey Logano, he's a solid driver, but I guess they just wanted Erik Jones over there. They brought him to the mothership. So Casey Kane in the 20 car, but at the end of the year, Suarez ends up taking the ride because of Kane's dehydration thing. Penske, Joey Logano moves over to Penske in the 02 car. So Joey Logano really does go to Penske. Harvick is there. Bowyer's there. Kenseth is there. That's a stacked team. Like Penske is a phenomenal team in this realm. Hendrick, they still got everybody except Alex Bowman goes to the 88 because Junior retires. Furniture Row's the same. And they do close at the end of the year. This is the same basically, but Ryan Blaney ends up being the like test driver, if you will, like Kenseth did in real life. But yeah. Paul Menard goes to the Wood Brothers, just like in real life. RCR now has Aric Almirola replacing Paul Menard as another paid driver, basically, Smithfield. Bubba Wallace goes to RPM. 2019 now, Haas still with Newman. JGR looks the same, except Erik Jones and Martin Truex basically are just in different numbers. Because Martin Truex Jr. replaces Casey Kane at the end of the year. They didn't want to move Suarez up, so they put Truex in the car because Furniture Row obviously closed. Levine Family Racing is where Suarez is. HMS, you got basically the same thing. Penske is looking almost the same, except Ryan Blaney goes to the 12 car because Clint Bowyer gets bopped because he is not performing well. RCR, Daniel Hemrick to the 8 car. That's about it that happens there. Ganassi, oh yeah, Kurt Busch leaves RCR. And he goes to the 1 car. Roush now, they've got, Clint Bowyer in the 99. He performs okay. Wood Brothers, Menard, Bubba Wallace. All right. In 2020, we got Ryan Newman and Haas. JGR looks the same. They actually have the same roster as in real life, but it's just the switch numbers. Christopher Bell and Levine Family Racing Equipment. Gaunt Brothers still with Daniel Suarez. HMS, we got basically the same thing, except now Eliot is switching his number. William Byron goes to the 24. Brad Keselowski goes to the 22 because he was bopped from, Hendrick, because they wanted to move William Byron up into the 24 car. RCR looks basically the same, except Tyler Reddick goes to the 8. Ganassi, basically the same, except Kenseth goes to the 42 to replace Larson, because Kenseth retired at the end of 2019 from the 22 car. That's why Keselowski was able to go there. And now he's just back again, basically. Roush, here we got Chris Buescher in the 6, just like in real life what happened. Stenhouse and Buescher basically just switch rides. Stenhouse goes to the 47. Cole Custer, now this might be a long shot, but I'm guessing he would go to the 21. But honestly, he might not even get an opportunity at all, because Stewart-Haas was really the one that discovered him in the Truck Series. And I don't know if he would have got moved up to the Xfinity Series or really anything. So he may not actually be around, but I really have no idea there. Yeah. And then we got RPM here with Bubba Wallace. So the big takeaways from this is Danica Patrick obviously never really gets a ride. Yeah. Danica never really gets a ride, so it's never really this huge embarrassment on the sport of NASCAR. But yeah, so a lot of the rosters actually end up being quite close to each other at the end, but it's very different on how the drivers actually get to where they end up in real life. It's not quite completely flipped over like the Spingate one, but it is different. So in conclusion, thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to suggest another what if idea, go ahead and leave it in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video.